This conference will
I
now be
saw.
recorded.
Yeah, I saw. I was correcting the slides here a couple of minutes ago.
Right.
Uh,
Sorry.
you added all the stuff that I was hoping I wasn't going to add.
Yeah.
So welcome, welcome to this week's or this bi-weekly webinar. Today's topic is going to be glass tubes versus RF tubes. I'm always happy to see the same smiling faces. I was hoping we were going to have more on today, but maybe they will join us. And this is being recorded for the moment, so I'll keep it as professional as possible. Hence the, Chris, you missed the beard and a ponytail and the hat around backwards, and
He's good.
yeah,
He doesn't want to speak.
I can't blame him. Let me see about this. Okay, can everybody hear me still? Something went wrong on my end. Was that a yes? Okay, Danny's giving me a thumbs up, so today we're going to do glass tubes versus RF tubes. So as our introduction, we have glass or DC tubes, and then the RF or the radio frequency tubes are both CO2 lasers. I see it all the time, asking that question or misrepresenting it. So they are both CO2 lasers. Each one has its pros and cons, and they both should be considered carefully when you're deciding on what laser that you want to use. Whether it's, you need a smaller dot size or you need more power for cutting or what have you. So moving into glass laser tubes, they're typically less expensive. They are not rechargeable. They have a shorter lifespan and can be checked visually for degradation. They have a larger beam size compared to the RF tubes. They take more energy to produce a beam or a pulse. The higher wattage tubes are harder to fine tune at the lower end. We see that sometimes on the 130. They're highly susceptible to breakage because they're glass from freezing or heat soak, and they need an active chiller to maintain their consistency. So if we go back here, needing the chiller, um, that'll help keep everything cool, but then you run into this right here, susceptible to breakage if it freezes. One of the things that we've got out there is to use the RV antifreeze to help prevent this, but it's not a end all be all for it.
One
Yep, go
thing,
ahead, Chris.
go back to that one real quick.
Sure.
So the interesting thing, and I want to make this real clear because there's a few companies out there that are saying this, and it's not true. So you can have a water reservoir, a fan, and a radiator. That does not make it an active chiller. It is trying to cool the water, but the water is going to heat up. And the issue with that, if it's not an active chiller and not actively chilling the water and keeping it at a constant temperature, you can pause your machine, go in and have lunch, come back outside and start a job over again, and you're going to have probably double the amount of power because of heat soak. So, so an active chiller is very important when it comes to these glass tubes, or at least a non-active chiller that can keep up with the tube. Like, what was it? Our Thunder Mini, our Nova Mini had the 5000. Was it, Chris? No, wait. You're on mute, or are you? I can't hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear him either. Heard that? No, didn't.
No, didn't hear that. Didn't hear it.
I know that while he's figuring that out, The
Yeah,
we were given with a previous laser a pump. Pretty much
Oh,
put it in a 5 gallon bucket.
3,000.
yeah,
3,000.
CW3000 and the Mini 60 40-watt tube.
Yeah. So 40-watt tube, 30-watt tube, you can probably get away with just chilling it without an active chiller. Above that, you're going to have some crazy heat soak. And if you pause for any reason, well, actually, not even that. Like, pause, you're going to see the difference. Otherwise, it's going to look like it fades out of focus as it goes through the job, which is, there's just not consistency there. The glass heats up, you lose power.
And also very reliant on your ambient temperature for how well it can cool. Even fan cooled RFs are susceptible to it. And then your chiller, even with the active chiller, if you're in the what they call intelligent mode that floats with the ambient temperature, so like I'm in a garage and in the morning it may be 60, by the afternoon it could be 85. If I was in intelligent mode, the chiller might float with that versus keeping it in the constant mode where I tell it, hover around 20 degrees Celsius no matter what the ambient is as best you can. So just for variability standpoint.
Yeah, a little off topic, but definitely important to think about and consider, especially with a lot of companies coming out saying that they have an active chiller or they have a chiller where it's not. It's basically a cooler or a radiator system. It's like saying that your car had a way of cooling down the antifreeze, where you know it's not.
Or at one time, like when we had our other brand machine, it came with a pump. You put it in a 5 gallon bucket, you fill the bucket full of water, and that's what circulated through the tube.
Yep.
Um, and then you realize, oh crap, the 5 gallons of water gets hot really fast, and even the blue, cooler ice freeze things don't help.
Nope.
So that is definitely a little off topic, but it helps to explain it and understand. Okay, so more on the glass tube. So a CO2 laser utilizes carbon dioxide gas to produce a laser beam by stimulating a mixture of gases within the glass tube. Process involves exciting gas molecules with electricity, causing them to emit photons that bounce between mirrors, amplify the beam. The resulting laser beam is then focused and uses various applications like cutting and engraving. Um, so pretty much how it works in, the gas stimulation, you have that mixture of gas, carbon dioxide, some helium, nitrogen, and hydrogen is all sealed in that glass tube. We run electricity through it or high voltage through it, ionizing the gas molecules, the photon emission, the excited nitrogen molecules collide with the CO2 molecules. Wow. I need a bow tie on to give this lecture. Uh,
Yeah. The only reason why yeah, I mean, I added these after the fact, and the only reason why I did was if somebody's watching it, and like I wanted to know more. But we have an anode and a cathode, and on a glass tube, the back end of the tube where the beam starts, and then we have the ground on the other side, and it's shooting that excited beam, plasma or whatever, through, right?
yep.
Uh, the RF is completely different, and when we get into that, it's going to be interesting. But with the glass tube, it's taking AC voltage at 120 and converting it over to DC voltage at 10,000 to 30,000 volts. So it's taking a lot more power to make things happen, um, which is why we don't have as clean and as small of a beam as the RF.
So we just summarized that one up in a nutshell. Any questions on that? Good. Okay. So, if you can't have a little fun with this, then what's the sense in doing
Why are we doing it?
it? So the RF tube, a whole different animal, but it's a higher cost. Yet it can be recharged. So the core can be sent off, recharged, kind of like your propane cylinders for your gas grills. It has a smaller beam. So we're looking at what, 4 times smaller and more dense than a CO2 laser,
Yeah, it should be
or a glass tube, I should say.
4 times smaller of a beam, and then also 3 times the lifespan, give or take, about that.
Okay. So I
Another
don't. Go ahead, Chris.
another cool thing is they fit in your luggage. I'm not saying TSA will handle it well, but they do fit in luggage.
Okay.
They're much smaller.
Yeah, I can't imagine that one. I still want them to go behind my headlights so I can be like James Bond.
Doing that
So yeah. I don't like talking about the lifespan glass tube versus RF tube, just because it gets a little, but yes, there is a difference, or should be a difference, in the lifespan of a glass tube versus an RF. The RF's going to last a little bit longer, or at least should. But I have seen glass tubes last for 7 years, worked every day. It's an oddity, but I have seen it when it had to be replaced. What you got, Chris? You look like you wanted to say something.
Which one?
You.
Oh,
well,
no. No, the glass leaches. So glass is porous. So it does leach over time, and that's the exact reason why we don't want you to have one on the shelf. Um, because over time that gas is just slowly leaching out of the tube. So that's another factor, not just usage, that goes into the lifespan of those tubes.
And this is the RF tube. We can adjust the frequency is adjustable, so that we can do some interesting stuff, whether it's cutting or engraving different stuff. And I know CeeLo has had more experience. I can tell you all day long that if you want to engrave a white tumbler on a RF tube up at 25 kilohertz, it works better. But you lower it to cut. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, and we're basically, what we're doing is slowing down the pulse rate, or the amount of times it's firing. There's more on that in the next slide.
Yes, exactly. The one drawback that I see, you can't visually determine the tube degradation. So with the glass tube, you can see it. If it's dark pink to purple, it's good. If it's light pink or starts turning to white, it's starting to go bad. And then if it's white to yellowish, you definitely need a new tube. You can't determine this by physically looking at it. It take more time to generate the beam pulse, and I forgot all about this, and it was kind of comical when I set up that 51 plus. I hit pulse as fast as I could, and nothing happened because I didn't hold the pulse button long enough for it to generate and do how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, the tube is actually faster, so the creation of the pulse is faster, but on when it's running at a stable power, right?
Yes.
Doing a pulse, it's interesting, and we'll go into it with the picture. But the way that the beam is created and then amplified over passes internally, probably could cause some weird outcomes on, one, the pulse signature, and then two, the time it takes.
Yes, I know I wasn't happy with the way the pulse looked, but I knew what was going on, so I could just ignore it and know
Right.
that I hit the center. That's
Right.
all I was looking for, was that pretty much that dot was in the center of the tape.
Yep.
Again, it does not require chiller. However, the performance can be affected by extreme temperature differences. Whether it's below 40 degrees, it doesn't like the cold too much, but it will still work, or hot temperatures, it'll overheat.
The larger wattages do require a chiller. We don't carry those yet, um, but yeah, I mean, just kind of again, you're getting heat soak, and performance will suffer. So as the wattage goes up, the fans cannot keep up. So air cooling is not always the best option. And what would you think, Myers? What wattage? 120, 150?
I mean, I would think after 60 watts, I'd want water cooling, to be honest. Um, Especially with ambient temperature changes, being in a garage with heat,
Right.
you know, just for
But with the
efficiency.
but with the water cooling, we're looking at efficiency. We're not looking at the possibility of cracking a glass tube if it freezes or gets too cold.
No,
It's
no,
just to the chiller is there to cool the tube
no.
so that
Yeah,
we get the best performance, but we don't have to worry like a glass tube.
yeah. And just like an engine block, you're going to have channels throughout the tube body. Uh, it's not going into the tube, or on the glass tubes, that water rides right down the middle of the tube, where you know around where the beam is produced, and this will be chilling the casing of the actual tube.
And also the noise, the fans are
Oh.
pretty dang loud.
Yeah,
So as you get more and more fans, that noise increases. So yeah, I think even the 30-watt tubes have ports on it, and jack would be able to, if you wanted to hook a chiller up, you could.
yep,
So
See, and I can see that as a benefit, but I also know how some people's minds work when you start talking about chillers and the differences between the glass tube and an RF tube. We worry about breakage or freezing. It's not the same. It's like buying an air cooled, four-wheeler versus a water cooled one. It's helping with the performance. It's
correct.
not, the same thing with like a UV, the larger ones that turn out to be water cooled to help the performance and keep them cool. So just to kind of, in case anybody heard this and was kind of worried or wondering, it's not about that
No,
for
it's
this.
keeping your performance and consistency going all the time.
Okay, here's all the science behind how an RF tube works.
Want me to do that?
I gotcha. RF is a radio frequency. Again, it's a CO2, utilizes radio waves to excite the gas molecules within the tube, creating the beam. Differs from the DC or glass tube, which uses direct current to excite the gas. The frequency of the radio waves affects how often the laser pulses, influencing the detail and precision of the laser's work. So, and you can see all the steps that go into it there.
Yeah, there's no reason to go
No,
too much.
no,
Somebody that wants to pause and read it can read it.
exactly. But the information is there for everybody. Okay, these are the fun ones. What makes the RF different from a glass tube? The tube price. So you're looking at a RF metal tube is a higher cost, anywhere from 2,500 to 30,000. I can't fathom spending 30 grand on a tube and how big that would be. Your glass tubes are more affordable, so you're ranging from 400 to 1,500. The 130-watt tube is about 1,500 from us.
The 30-watt tube is 1,500 to be
Recharged.
the recharge exchange. So it's $1,000 with a $500 core charge that you get back.
Okay. Where a brand new one off the shelf.
2,500 for the 30-watt.
yeah, and that $1,000 is depending on the wattage of the tube.
Right. Yeah.
Cheaper. Not all of them are the same.
Yeah, it also depends on the manufacturer too, correct?
Correct.
Your lifespans. So your RF tube, you're looking at, it can be recharged. So used repeatedly with a lifespan of over 10,000 hours. We offer a 2-year warranty on some of the models. And our glass tube, we're looking at 2,000 to 4,000 hours. I add a bit to that one. It all depends on how much and how hard you're running it and how old your machine is. So we shoot for the 2,000 to 4,000 hours, but there's always some variance there. You might get 7,000 hours. You might get 500 hours. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. And we've got a year warranty on those. And that's the lifespan depends on your working environment and maintenance. Your laser beam quality. The RF tubes, they're a high quality beam spot with a circular and uniform pattern once they are stable.
Notice how I added that in there.
Yes, good call. We also equipped with a beam expander, resulting in a small divergence angle after focusing. A smaller laser point can be achieved. Do you want to add more to this one, CeeLo?
No, I mean the beam expander is almost like a telescope, and near and far field uh, across the bed can have different effects. So if you tune it one way all the way, it may be really good in the top left-hand corner. Tune it the opposite way, it may be really good in the bottom right-hand corner. So we're trying to find, by fine-tuning it, because obviously the factory is putting it at a nominal position where they feel like it's good across the board. Well, I don't like that, and I want to fine tune it even more to get the best photos, to get the finest detail. Kind of like a ramp test, but a ramp test for the beam expander. So we can fine tune it so that it has the best performance across the entire bed.
It just takes time and patience.
Yep.
And now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and I did some videos covering that on how to really try to fine tune it to get the best out of it.
On the other hand, your glass tube produces a beam spot with a less favorable pattern compared to the RF, resulting in larger laser points after focusing. Therefore, in terms of engraving, the RF tube has some advantages, delivering better engraving results. It's not saying that a glass tube cannot deliver fantastic results. With the glass tube, we're able to, or any of them, we're able to change our lenses. If we drop, down to a 1.5 lens, we're going to get an even tinier beam spot than we already have on an RF, but we're also going to reduce that one on a glass tube to give you results that you may be looking for.
Yeah, I think the reality of it is that in the past these RF tubes were only afforded to the people with money or needed them for a high level of output. So your Trotex, your Epilogues, they had them, but they had them in 40, 50, $60,000 machines and up.
Mm-hmm.
When we threw that RF 30-watt tube into a bolt, I think Myers and I looked at each other and like, how much money are we losing on this? Because we know that technology was not affordable. But I think we, with the bolt, set the trend, and now you're going to see more and more machines come out with this cleaner, better resolution, longer lasting tube. Is it better than glass in performance? I think so overall. But the problem in the past was the affordability of it, and that has, I think we're changing the game with that.
So I add a little bit different mindset to it, not taking away from any of it, but you got to also take into fact that your program, I don't want to say firmware, but the computer stuff that I don't know much about, plus your graphics. I've seen a $65,000 RF tube laser produce some crappy results, where the 51-130 that we have produces fantastic results. but
Yeah,
it could be related to graphics and the softwares and everything else and how it's done.
no,
Um,
I think once you get up into that price range, you're looking at strictly fiber cutters or RF cutters. The power is so high that it is designed and built for cutting, and if it engraves something, maybe you're lucky.
no.
Really?
We've got a shop down the street, 65 grand. It's a 75 watt RF.
Interesting.
Um,
Maybe
you
it's
know, so yeah, and we'll put the 51 130 up to the engraving side by side every day.
so
Um,
ISA. I wish we took a picture at ISA, the International Science Show. We had Trotec, Epilogue, and the owner of no, the vice president of GCC laser. They all came over and they were in awe of this RF 80-watt tube punching through an inch of acrylic. Like, oh, everybody that walked up, what is it, 150 watts? Nope. Because that beam is so dense and so fine that it just slices right through it.
The thing to
yeah,
know, we ought to start talking about affordability. There's also variations in the RF world too, between just the metal and then the ceramic core.
Mm-hmm.
So there's tiers there too, where if you budget can withstand it, you can still buy a $10,000 80-watt RF if you want to.
Yeah, which was what was in the machine that we were using. It was an Irradion $10,000 tube. I mean, it's an amazing tube. I get to play with it for a little while and see how it works, but um, yeah, it was pretty nice.
outstanding. Okay, so here we go with the RF tube design. Um, yeah, okay. So this one's going to be interesting to because for me, when I first saw it, wrapping my head around it, um, and I'll hopefully, I think we can. So literally, the beam is when it's generated inside of the tube, it has to it gets generated by the radio frequencies, and then it bounces off 3 mirrors or 4 mirrors before it finally comes out of the laser itself and starts striking the mirrors. And that goes back to the pulsing and how long you're holding the pulse for it to actually become stable. Did I
Right.
about sum that up there?
Yeah. Yeah. So so what it's doing, it's I guess starting at that back end, right? And I'm using my mouse, but you all can't see my mouse. Yep, that back end there. So it's starting back there and it's amplifying it. That's why these things can be so small, because as it goes back and forth in those mirrors, it's actually increasing power. So it goes to one mirror, then it goes across the electrodes, I believe are in there, and then it increases power, bounces off another mirror. Now I know that our 60-watt SPTs, I think they only have one bounce, but they are a little bit larger. Um, but yeah, it's really weird, and I think the photo on the left side, if you look at the inside of these things, it's impossible to understand how this works. Um, but I think on the left side picture kind of represents it the best, where it's just a huge plate of laser beam, and then it's just formed by the mirrors and eventually bounces out. And this is why, if you look at a pulse from the Bolt or the Plus, we have multiple spots. And I believe that is because of how many times it's refracting off of the mirrors. And until it's stable, it's not a consistent pulse. It's interesting, but it's the technology. It is, epilogues do the same thing. Ours do it. It's just how how it works, which I still don't understand.
And this would be your cooling. You're cooling in and out to keep the chamber itself cooler for better performance. Any questions on the diagrams? Okay, and then what we all know is our glass DC tube. There's what your glass tube looks like, and when you have an excited beam through it, that's about half-life of 130 watt tube. So you'll see that it's pink, but it's a lighter pink, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
That is, I can tell you that is about 300, under 400 hours on 130 watt tube. That gets worked really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And in conclusion, so, again, each type of tube has its purpose for the industry. Make sure you're weighing your pros and cons, what you're looking for, what you're trying to get out of it. I think as we get into larger RF tubes, 80, 120, 150, I think the cutting capacity compared to a glass tube or 130 watt glass tube will be there. I was actually pretty impressed with the 60 watt RF tube in the Nova Pluses. We had very little issue cutting through cabinet grade maple plywood and 11/16 thick solid cherry. Granted, it was about 2 millimeters a second and 100% power, but it still did it. So don't count out the 60 watt RF tube for some cutting quality and ability. And again, we roughly mentioned, but making sure that we marry what we're wanting to do with which laser that we're wanting to use or which tube that we're wanting to use with the right lens or the right optics, because that makes the difference too. We're not trying to cut 1 inch with a 1.5 inch, lens. And we're not trying to do photos with a 4-inch lens for a Nova. So again, we kind of got to marry those together. And does anybody have any questions?
I love the diversity of hands.
Yes, I like that. So we have no questions?
Nothing.
Okay, well, the floor is open. So if anybody has questions on anything else other than this, please let us know. Scott's over there giggling. No other topics? Anything anybody wants to discuss?
Your bamboo?
Yeah, I'm going to say I think that's what Danny's waiting for.
Yeah, Danny's waiting for that one.
It's huge, Danny. It compared to the others, it's ginormous. That's the only word to describe it.
Lois, there she is.
Wow, she shook her head really hard on that one, Tommy.
Still being recorded.
It's like twice the size of the other ones.
Yeah, it's 4 times the volume or something. It's huge. And it shakes a lot. Once you run that thing, it's going to shake a lot.
Yes, sitting it on the toolbox not really shaking, but that whole thing, I'm like, okay, so
I guess
this should be interesting.
Good acceleration then, obviously, kind of like the Bolt. Yeah.
Yeah. It likes to scoot. Danny, when's yours shipping?
What?
When's your H2D shipping? May?
The one
When's
that
your new bamboo coming?
it's I'm trying to make sure that I use what I've got enough right now, but I'm ready. I'm about ready to pull the trigger.
Okay.
I was wanting to get a little bit more feedback, but all the feedback's been good.
There's a couple things I don't like about it.
Such as,
I don't want to be called a negative Nancy for a second time today.
So we'll call you Negative Nelly. Go ahead. What's the problem?
All right. One, and maybe I just need to do a firmware update on it. Like when I send files to my Carbon, the first one or the last one I send is always top left. This one just throws it in the list. I don't know if it's by alphabetical name. Maybe I just need to see how it sorts. That's kind of annoying. Two, when you slice a file, you better have your nozzles picked right because you can't just willy nilly. Like Tommy, you got two AMSs. You're gonna have to make sure you put the film in the right one because if you had split nozzle usage, you have to go back and slice it again with the proper nozzles or move your filament.
Okay. And we've got the 0.4s in both, and I think that's all we're going to run for now.
But so if I like something you slice and it defaults to the right nozzle, and most of the time, because I only got one AMS, my right nozzle is the external spool.
Okay.
You can't just swap it at the printer to say, okay, I know you sliced on the right nozzle, but can you use the left? No, I got to go back to Bamboo Studio, tell it use the left.
Make sure you've sliced it for the left nozzle.
Yeah. And then really by the way that it names plates, I'm not sure I can have a right nozzle one and a left nozzle one. I'll have to look into that. So that could just be me. And then loading from the external spool is a chore. Like compared to the X1 Carbon, it's a chore to load it on the H2D. And swapping over to TPU is a chore as well.
Okay.
Some of my gripes. But other than that, I mean, it's a pretty sweet printer. And it has a lot of more checks and requirements on like whenever it loads film, and it automates a lot of things that I'm not used to on the X1 Carbon. So yeah, just getting used to it. I need to get rid of my Carbon and just get another one so I don't have to work in both worlds.
if I need Carbon, I've got a couple for sale.
No, I'm trying to get rid of them. Did anybody see that ASA filament that I marked this morning? I used the carbon fiber plate and then I marked it with the UV. Came out pretty sweet. I do like combining those. ASA is supposed to be better on the outdoor stability compared to like PETG or ABS.
How is the smell and stuff?
The smell? I mean, it's out in my garage, so it's not as bad. Like polycarbonate really smells when I'm printing it. The ASA, I hadn't really noticed it. And ABS, you can smell pretty good too. And then when I lasered it, of course, I had the exhaust fan going, make up air, started the fan ahead of time, and just let it exhaust everything out. Because ASA does have styrene in it, just like ABS does.
Well, you did that on the UV. You try it on the fiber yet?
No. I mean, I could throw it in
Because
the
of
boat.
the styrene.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. The ABS on fiber, beautiful, like a beautiful black. I just like throwing the UV. Part of the reason why I don't throw it in the fiber, EasyCAD 3. It's just I have to bust out EasyCAD 3. That's a couple extra steps.
Heaven forbid those couple extra steps, but I understand.
Well, I mean, drive on over and show me.
No.
EasyCAD 3, it just for all intents and purposes, it's antiquated. It's not fun.
Do you think the drying capabilities of the H2 is helping out?
Do you know how many times I've dried filament, Danny?
You told me that, but I've not had that luck. I mean, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. I mean, I take that back. I have dried nylon way back in the day when I had a Delta style printer that I was trying to print nylon 6 with. Um, but that was back in like 2017 or something.
Oh
Nothing
my
like
God,
that.
I can't believe they had electricity way back then.
I
Holy
know,
smokes.
right? I mean,
You had
that was back
Hey,
in
we're
the
going to
year
call you
three days.
Negative Nate, not Negative Nelly or Negative Nancy. You're now Negative Nate.
you
We'll
had a
let you get by with one or two, but then when you start racking up 27 complaints, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I do have to say, Rachel, thank you very much for tech support today because I changed my phone within the last 2 weeks and I didn't have the go-to meeting uh, flagged on this phone or saved or bookmarked, whatever you want to call it. So I couldn't find the meeting. So I called in and I found it through her. So thanks again, Rachel. I'm done.
Yeah. For y'all that don't know, I think that's our Rachel uh, over there. She answers a lot of the phone calls, and she's our first stop on a phone call tech support side. So treat her right.
Look
Y'all
at
don't
that. They
treat
had the
her
golf
right.
clap in there.
We will defend her.
Yep, we've done it before.
Yep.
I have to text her. Is
Hey,
that her?
I come in peace. I was giving her a compliment. We're
Oh
not
yeah,
so
we're just
hostile,
saying
guys.
people may not know which Rachel you're talking about, but we got a Rachel over here.
No, the Rachel that's here with a black screen, as far as I can see, it's probably her because when she opened up the meeting to give me the link to it, I heard Tommy in the background and I was like, oh, yeah, that's Tommy right there. I hear him. So that's the meeting.
You trying to say I have a very distinct voice?
All right, Angry Craftsman, whenever you're ready.
Oh, what else can we discuss? Because I hate awkward silence.
Um,
But how about you, Chris? Tell us more about the ISA.
um, I didn't venture too far out of our little booth, but it was good. I think it was really good. I think there's some cool stuff coming from Thunder China. It'll be a little bit. I'm hoping within the next 2 months we'll finally see the new machine, um, which should be pretty interesting. We'll see higher wattages of RF, maybe with a combo of fiber, which will be interesting. How they pull that off and work it all together. New design, all that stuff. So we'll see how it goes. Um, I personally am getting the 51 80-watt RF that they had on show because it's not one that we sell. Not quite sure why they brought that, but I'll take it.
And it probably will never be a model that is sold.
Um, unless we start selling that tube. That's the main difference, was the tube that was in it. We don't offer that tube. In fact, I get it until they finish the tubes that we are selling, and then I got to send that one back. But but yeah, it was a good show. It was very long days and what feels like even longer nights. It was Vegas, so what do you expect? But any questions about any of that stuff? If you were there, if you want to know more about the new stuff, happy to answer questions. Ignite, we can talk about Ignite.
Well, and that was going to be my next thing. We've got a couple things, and it's just a reminder. For the new users out there, or if you haven't scheduled your 1 hour, uh, because scheduling conflicts or whatnot, we have that ability now inside the scheduling that it's an extra cost, but you can schedule your training in a different window, whether it's on a weekend or in an evening. Again, like I said, it's an added cost to get that premium time slot, but it is there. And then we have Ignite coming up. What is it? 3 months? I think it's 3 months. It's right around the corner. And the way our lives work, 3 months will feel like 3 days.
And there's under 15 seats available at this point.
Oh
So
wow,
if you're
we've
thinking
gotten
about
that.
it, yeah.
So yeah, so what the max we were going to do is what 100.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there'll probably be some people that can't come or what have you. Things just don't work out, but it should be interesting. We're planning on entertainment, you know, drinks at night and socialization. We're going to have some lessons, then go right into breakouts to hands-on laser machines. So it should be a really good event, kind of like the first one, but with more people, a lot more people.
And as well as what different machines.
Um,
We'll have the bolts, obviously.
yeah, we'll have the bolts. We're hoping that we have the new Titan there to announce it and launch it and show it. Um, we're doing it. The machine time will be downstairs in the warehouse. So I'm guessing any machines that we have there that are refurbished can be taken advantage of. So not only can you play on the machine, you can also take it home. Hopefully.
And I assume accessories and things like that we may have will be available for people to purchase, and whether it's the lens kits or rotaries or what have you that are there.
Yeah, we need to bring that up as a topic in one of the meetings. An easy way to do that, but I mean, I guess we could just send them right to the online store, and instead of shipping, we just hand it over to you.
Makes sense. Should be an interesting time with speakers that are there, the three of us.
Yeah, we have some really good speakers. Probably some that you typically will follow online for some of the Thunder groups and influencers and stuff like that. So it should be pretty neat.
Well, I see we got at least one more added. Welcome. If you have any questions, just pipe up and let us know. As we start to close this out, we've got about 10, 15 minutes left. So I don't think there's anything else that we have really going on, or any other announcements or news support wise, or additional stuff. I know we've got machines that are getting delivered constantly, so don't forget to get everything set up, follow the Academy videos, and then schedule your training. Mr. Myers, you got any admin stuff to add or put out?
Not really. Um, where did y'all go? Sorry, I'm working on that Aurora article. Um, no. No. I got nothing.
And I'll say it, be patient with all of us. We do the best that we can with that, answering tickets and getting that stuff taken care of. I mean, once again, as we talked about it, 2 weeks ago, we're looking at tickets. We're doing this. Chris may be redoing an article, or CeeLo may be in the middle of doing a video. So you kind of got to bear with us. It's not just, our jobs are kind of all encompassing when it comes to the support side. So we do the best that we can to get you the answers as quickly.
And we're still pretty damn quick. And on the weekends and at nights, most of the time. Expect a delay, but you should get a response from us even off hours. Just because it's what we do.
Hey, I have a machine scheduled for late May to come in, and there are rumors out there that stuff is going to be hard to get unloaded at the docks, or ships aren't going to go to the docks. Has there been any rumors of that? Have you guys heard anything about that?
Not
No.
really. So
No,
unfortunately, we don't handle the logistics side of things. We had that big port issue. Was it last January, 2024? Yeah, I mean they basically shut the country down, right? But I haven't heard anything about that. I know the tariff stuff has been a little shaky, but I haven't heard anything about stoppage at the docks or whatever.
We haven't even really heard anything about price increases either yet. We're going to do our best as a company, a global company, to absorb as much as we can, and hopefully it all works out the correct way.
Well, I can't wait for the laser to get here. I'm chomping at the bit.
You're getting that Note 24 Plus, right?
That's right.
That's right.
Because of you.
That's right.
All his fault.
Thank you.
That's still a 60 though, right? That's a pretty
hey,
powerful tube in a little tiny itty bitty capsule.
Well, consider like the 24 60-watt with glass tube, and now you're going to throw a 60-watt RF in there. The efficiency of that small bean spot, it's pretty dang good.
and that especially in that I don't want to say tiny little bed, but when you compare it to a 51,
Yeah, it's tiny. It's still bigger than the Bolt, but it fits a lot of needs.
That's what I was looking at, was the Bolt Plus, and it was a no-brainer once I talked to Chris Myers about the advantages of the 60-watt tube and a larger bed. So it just made sense.
You just give it a little bit of speed. The other cool thing about RF2s that I don't think we touched on, or one of the detriments of a glass tube, is in general, as the tube gets higher in wattage, it has to get longer. Some of them go up in diameter a little bit. So that kind of dictates why certain machines are as big as they are. Like a Nova 51 can fit that 130 watt, but a Nova 63 can fit beyond 130 watt. And you really wouldn't want to hang 130 watt off of a Nova 24. People have asked, I think, about 80 watts or 100 watts and stuff like that. Well, the RF tubes, they're pretty compact, but instead of necessarily getting longer, they get deeper. That gives us a lot of flexibility as machine manufacturers to start manufacturing machines that aren't as
big and bulky.
Well, yeah, they're not tied necessarily to the wattage of the tube from a length standpoint. So you could make more cube style, like something that was just 27 inches and working with. That's enough to get a 24-inch sheet in there, have extend space, and still have enough room to do a full 24, and just make it 24 by 24, right? That fits a lot of needs versus having to make it 35 wide and 24 deep like a Nova 35. So that opens up some flexibility there. Plus, you can also hide a RF tube in a different position. You could almost vertically stick it, right? Because it's short enough, and versus being along the back. So that just opens up a few things. You don't have to worry, I guess, on ours. It's just fan cooled. That may cause some problems with the heat distribution. But
no constraints on the RF wattage, because I've only heard of 60 watt.
They go up there. You start getting into 220 volt power with big DC power supplies and massive chillers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can't air cool those anymore.
I would think, in my personal opinion, anything after 60 watts, I'd want to switch over. The 60 watt with the fans is pretty loud, and as you get larger in RF, you get more fans or bigger fans, and it just gets louder
Oh, okay.
because you're moving an insane amount of CFMs across that tube to keep it cool. Where water cooling is a lot more efficient.
Right.
And
I
it's not
get
really
it.
loud on engraving. When you go to cut,
Yeah,
that's
right.
almost like as soon as you hit it line, it does a line, the fans ramp up and it gets a wee bit noisy.
Yeah, that's one of the things with our fan board is that it runs at half power. So you got 48 volts running the tube. The fans are running at about 20. I forget. I metered it. It was like 23 or so. Until you kick on high speed, then it's running the full 48. But yeah, I mean, you're asking a lot. You're cutting close to 70, 80, 90, 100% power. You want to keep it cool.
Are there any plans for higher wattage RF tubes?
Not well. We're going to offer 80 watt in the 51 and the 63, and then once the Titan comes out, you'll see 80 to 120.
Wow.
From what I've been told, still air cooled though, from what we understand.
That'll be a beast.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
you're talking
Oh,
comparison to about 200 watts glass, which
I want the 35 and 120 watt.
that'll be a beast. And like you, I want to put them in behind my headlights.
Not that I have anger issues or anything.
No, I just want people to move out of the left lane.
Well, I guess we are close enough. I can